Just when you think Florida State recruiting's about to turn the corner, they pull the rug right out from underneath you.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to Amazon.com, Fire TV, Locked On to learn more. We have some overview today to kind of get caught up on everything because it has been such a busy portal season. Recruiting starting to pick up. We got another week or two before it truly does in terms of the visits. We're going to talk about all that, who they need, who they've got. But we're going to start off with something that is going to be a rant. I said a few months ago that if they didn't get this player, I was going to have a rant, and today is that day. It is absolutely, unequivocally ridiculous that Florida State not only didn't get this player, he's a kid that lives 30, 40 minutes from Tallahassee. He's going to Cal. Cal. Yeah. The Cal Bears, the ones in Northern California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. Cal. The same school that out-recruited Florida State for him because they literally spent more effort in South Georgia than the Florida State staff. Cal. The Cal Bears put more effort into recruiting a player in Thomasville, Georgia than the Florida State Seminoles. A player that could just about drive blind from where he lives and hit Doak Campbell Stadium. The Cal Bears out-recruited Florida State. Cam Brooks, defensive lineman, Thomas County Central High School, the same high school as Charlie Ward, by the way. Nice little coincidence there. The 1993 Heisman Trophy winner for the national champion Noles. Yeah, that same Cam Brooks has committed to Cal. Florida State didn't even get an official visit, and he committed to Cal. This is one of the biggest flops on an individual recruitment I can remember. And to be clear, the blame is not on the defensive staff here because that's pretty much changed over. This is on Mike Norvell for getting Florida State into a circumstance for being 2-10. 2-10. That's a Mike Norvell problem. He shouldn't have had to have changed staffs because he should have made staff changes prior if there had been any failures, and he should have made some better hires overall, offensively and defensively. There's no doubt about it. The D-line coach that just retired, Odell Hangins, this is not his fault either. He's still around the program, and he can still help anyway. This is a Mike Norvell problem. He's never been a great recruiter. They haven't had a top 10 class at Florida State since he's been on campus. This is a Mike Norvell problem. Cannot happen. Cam Brooks is a national recruit. Just for the record, before he had committed to Cal, Florida State, Clemson, and Ohio State were three of his other visits. And yes, Cal had an OV set up as well. But this is a national recruit. He pretty much could have picked up the phone and called any school in the country. I have made multiple trips down to Thomas County Central to watch him practice and or play in games. He's a dude. That's an NFL player in your backyard at a position. Florida State has been one of the most dominant programs in all of college football for a long time. Even though they were terrible last year, if Darrell would have went to the draft, he'd have got drafted too. They'd have had multiple guys drafted off a 2-10 team from the defensive line. Joshua Farmer, for those who don't know, 4th round. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Cal. This is just horrendous. Cal. There's no way around this. Florida State's still going to recruit Cam Brooks. I'm sure of that. I don't need to make any phone calls. Everybody still will. But again, I have been told that Cal put in more effort than the Florida State Seminoles did in recruiting Cam Brooks. Point blank, No ifs, no ands, no buts. Cal. I wonder what the distance is from Thomasville, Georgia, to anywhere you want to pick in the Bay Area. I guarantee it's not the same as the 30-some mile drive due north from Tallahassee to Thomasville. One road, straight shot. Wow. But that's Florida State football right now. They'd started to trend in a lot of directions on the recruiting side that I liked. But the missteps prior to all the coaches coming in December is the big reason for this. I was told earlier in Cam Brooks's recruitment that he wanted to see what they had this spring, rightfully so. New staff, new scheme, and all that. But he doesn't have a relationship with them because they had to change staffs after a 2-10 season because Norvell made a bunch of goof ups. This is where we are. I know Terrence Knighton can recruit. I know Terrence Knighton can develop. He's proven that. But it's about relationships. If you asked me to list the first 3 things in recruiting that are critical to any player, number 1 is relationships. Number 2 is relationships. And number 3, it's relationships. Norvell is not a great recruiter, which surprises me because he seems like a very personable man. But again, no top 10 class. And I never really hear recruits say he's the guy that's most important for Florida State. I'll hear him say that they like talking to him, this and that. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. But he doesn't close for whatever reason the way a lot of other head coaches do. I don't know what the deal is with that. I can't put my finger on it. So I'll leave it at that. But he still also failed to make the right decisions to prevent 2-10. 2-10 cost Florida State Cam Brooks, and it's probably cost Florida State some other guys as well. And yeah, I'm ticked off, and yeah, this is a rant, but I'm getting tired of covering failures. You should be, as a Florida State fan, tired of listening to failures. I just cover the news. I tell it like it is, and I do not care if somebody doesn't like it. That's the bottom line. Now, how do you repair this? I got a couple of things here that are primary and one that's debatable. Number 1 is to win this year. But the way this kind of situation is, it makes me wonder, is the Alabama game a must win, which I don't think they're going to win that game. I mean, I'd love to see myself be wrong on that, but do I really think they're going to beat Bama? No, I don't. But Florida State needs credibility. Winning in general is going to help, but they can't just go 6-6, 7-5 this year. It's just not good enough. Some way, somehow, they got to find a way to go 9-3. Do I have faith in that with Norvell at the top? I do not. And I think the Cam Brooks situation, that is a signal that he may not think that way either, or at least it's part of it. Again, relationships, far and away the number 1 thing in recruiting. That is not debatable. But nobody wants to play for a team that stinks either. They have to get a big-time win that the national, not local, the national media completely loves for Florida State, preferably in the first half of the season. Bama's probably that game. If they beat Miami, that would be great. But Bama has more cachet, obviously. Florida State is up against it here because they've got a bunch of these visits lined up. We'll see how it goes, but this gives me pause. Florida State didn't even get an OV out of Cam Brooks. I assume they still will, but I don't know the answer to that. I haven't asked anybody yet. But I'm a little bit irked, to say the least. So, second thing, and this is if it doesn't work out this season, like if they go 7-5, they've got to find somebody to buy out, to just get it over with. I've said it before. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they've got the money for it. I'd be shocked. I, again, would love to be wrong. But if they go 6-6, 7-5 this year, he's got to go. Do I think that'll happen? Again, no, I do not. Then third, this is the one. It just depends on how you want to look at it. But this is a general phrase. Take it for what it's worth. More recruiting effort. Terrence Knighton can recruit. He's going to get a chance during this May evaluation period that's going on right now to get to know Cam and everybody else for that matter. I'm sure he's going to go up to Thomas County Central, and I'm sure he's tried to be on the phone if he hasn't already talked to him. I have no idea, but at some point that's going to happen. You got to build the relationship. It's not Terrence Knighton's fault. He didn't get hired until after last season was over. It is what it is. Tony White, Knighton, and the rest of the staff have a lot of work to do. I mean, cows across the country, and they stink. I saw them play last year. They're not good. I saw them play live. They hustle. They play hard. That is not a school that's going anywhere. They lost like 4 or 5 transfer portal running backs this spring. That program is in disarray, and he picked Cal over Florida State. Absolutely mind-numbing. When we come back, we're going to kind of finish up on some thoughts on recruiting and transition into the portal, some things that they need to do, some areas that they got to hit. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting very easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. Player props, to me, is the most fun thing. Over-under on assists, over-under on points, steals. If you like soccer, how many goals a team will score or doesn't. There could be a million different things you look at, but player props are a lot of fun, no matter how you want to slice it. Plus, you can also do live bets, even if you don't get your original bet in before the game begins. That's something that's really cool about FanDuel, so make sure you take advantage. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Before going into the transfer portal, I just want to run down by position some keynotes for recruiting. Quarterback all the way to DB. So let's get rolling. Quarterback, Jaden O'Neal. Technically, the quarterback committed to the Oklahoma Sooners, but the new coordinator doesn't seem to want him. Florida State's going to get an OB. He's originally from California, but he is at Mustang Oklahoma High School. Now, I thought he was going to go to OU. Then they changed coordinators. Oops. So we'll see. That's a very interesting possibility. Plus, there's still Landon Duckworth, the young man out of Jackson, Alabama, very, very talented, part of a state championship last year for his high school team. Dynamic, would fit pretty much any offense. Even Georgia is recruiting Landon Duckworth, and they're also chasing after Jaden O'Neal a little bit too. Offensive tackle recruiting, I just want to address this. I don't care how it comes. They've got a couple of pretty good guards committed, but they have to get not one, but 2 pure, no doubt about it, long-term offensive tackles. Not projects. No doubters. Do I feel warm and fuzzy about that right now? Not really. Florida State's in on a bunch of guys, but more interior. For whatever reason, that's just the way it's kind of trended. I don't understand what it is because I know Herb can recruit. He's got a proven track record. Maybe it's Florida State's lack of NFL production at the O-line spots that's hurting tackle recruiting. I don't know. They're in on a lot of guys, but not enough elite players, in my opinion. You're going to miss on some guys no matter what you do. That's part of recruiting, and they cannot afford to miss again. 2, no doubters at offensive tackle. D-line recruiting, I'm going to jump around here a little bit. This is just how I wrote down my notes. But D-tackle recruiting, I trust in Pot Roast, and as I said, with Cam Brooks from Thomas County Central, he's going to recruit him. They're in on several guys, and do they end up getting somebody like Deuce Gerald's? Possibly. I'd watch out for Ole Miss or Ohio State there. He's a big-time pass rusher out of the Atlanta area. He's got 55 offers. To put it in perspective, Kendall Gerville, he's a kid out of Fort Myers High, another really talented player. But do I think he's going to be someone that Florida State gets or they definitely lead for? They're in the mix amongst a bunch of schools. But he's the big body guy, 6'4", 280, 290, something like that you're looking for. Florida State has a decent defensive tackle depth chart right now. And it, depending on how this shift goes with all the changes, the new defense, it could be really good. Just need to see it in action against Bama before I really know. But they got the right body types. They get a good class this year. It could really help them at other spots where they're not where they need to be yet. Defensive tackle recruiting has a chance, but we'll see. Linebacker, I just think they need consistency in this class. 2 to 3 really good players that can run. They did a good job in the portal. They've also developed some guys that are ready. They're kind of taking that next step. Now it's just playing. Linebacker is probably about as low a concern as I have in recruiting because so many guys can end up there. A big running back can transfer over to linebacker. A big safety could. Even a big receiver, possibly a tight end. There are so many ways to get it done there. Not as concerned at linebacker. Corner, they need at least one and hopefully two that are top-notch guys. Florida State should always be in the discussion for DBU. They've had so many great players at that spot. Jalen Ramsey recently, obviously Deion Sanders historically, etc. They've had Terrell Buckley and a lot of other guys. It shouldn't be that hard to recruit corners to Florida State. And they've got some good guys already in the mix. Sean Johnson could play corner. I think Darius Hughes could play it in the right situation. Darrell Bell probably could play it. But Hughes, I would prefer it. Free safety is really long. Bell, he's going to play safety in this scheme. We'll see if he kind of cross-trains. Johnson, I think they're going to just kind of figure it out. We'll see. As far as the cornerback situation with the safeties, just a quick mental note. Florida State's going to run, from what I understand, 3 safeties in their base package. The nickel/safety. It's a little different how they do it in Tony's defense. I need to see it again in live action in a game where we can really watch it to understand what's going on. But I'm curious about that. As far as the ability at defensive end to get the right guys, they need at least one in the portal too, but they need somebody that can come in that's an elite pass rusher in this class. Cam Brooks would have been nice, 6'4", 245 pounds, but they need somebody on each side too. They need somebody like Brooks is probably going to end up being a strong side end. He's going to gain some more weight, be 265, 270, but they could also use that 6'3", 230-pound guy that ends up at 250, 255. That's about where Peter Boulware, for those of you who remember him, that's about where he ended up. He came in at like 215, actually. He put on a lot of weight in Tallahassee. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Running back. They actually are in an interesting situation there. They can be very selective there. They can be very, very selective at running back in this class. They got a good group. They got Chroma coming in. They got Cam Davis last year. They're in a good spot. Not really worried about running back. And the last thing, of course, is receiver. They got to hit a home run. I'm not going to dive into that. They got to hit a home run at wide receiver. Next up, let's talk about the portal and what's left. The guys have all entered the portal that can. There might be a few more names that trickle out that their paperwork cleared, but it was Friday that you could enter, just to be clear. But for anybody that did not know, you can sign with School X, whatever it may be, Florida State, Florida, whoever, and enroll this summer. There is no dead date. Like, oh, you can't do it now. There's no dead date on that. It's just get to the school and enroll. So you could see a kid commit to Florida State out of the portal in June, technically speaking. That seems a bit odd, I know, and I'm still adjusting to it, but the transfer portal is wide open on when the commitment happens. Just a little FYI. So they lost Biscuit, as I talked about recently. He was at Florida State, went to Arizona State, came back, and now he's leaving again. Allegedly, North Carolina is inducing him to go up there probably for more money. They've got a lot of NIL. We'll see. So they really don't have a power tight end. And Gus wants to run the ball. Minimum, they got to get somebody that's a blocker out of the portal. Wouldn't be surprised if they got some FCS kid, a bigger body guy, maybe a 6'7", 260 kid that you almost know when he's in the game they're going to run or it's play action. But got to have it. Short yardage, goal line, got to have it. If they took a second guy, he would probably be a little more versatile. We'll see, but tight end's probably their biggest need right now. Receiver, they need 2. I just think they got to get 2. They had too many injuries last year, too much uncertainty, too much reliance right now on younger players. I mean, I like Boggs and I like, McCoy, all those guys. But am I ready to anoint them top-notch at Florida State level? No, I'm not. Need to. We'll see how that goes. O-line. They've got 4, and they're all good. They did a really good job in the winter portal window, but 2. They've got multiple guys coming in. I've talked about them some. Going to wait till the middle of this week to kind of go back through them again, unless somebody commits. If somebody commits, I'll probably do a short podcast on it, then rehash it on a full show again the next time I do one. But right now, they've got 1 young man coming in from Vanderbilt, and they've got 1 that's coming in from another school that's smaller. I don't know much about. Will they get somebody else? I don't know. The slim pickings from the spring window is a real thing. it's hard. That is going to be a very unique task for Herb Hand and anybody watching film. There's some good players, but it's not easy to get offensive tackles in the spring window. D-line, you could definitely use one at D-tackle at any time. If there's a really good player, somebody thinks you can use that's a fit, even if it's a long-term guy. Maybe it's a redshirt freshman. He's got 4 years, maybe. They run it a little bit differently with Tony White's scheme. They're going to run some 4 and some 3-man line. If they took another guy that's 6'3", 290, they can play either. It could be a 1-gap or a 2-gap guy. I think that's what they would look for. But I don't think they're going to be like just jumping at it. They've got some pretty good defensive tackles coming up. They'll be okay. The question is there the right overall fit? They're not going to be dealing with these shenanigans about everybody wanting new NIL deals every 10 minutes. Those guys, and that's over with. I think that's the one thing Norvell and his staff have learned. They're going to go low maintenance, and that's kind of a new trend in college football anyway. DN, same thing, one more. They definitely need it. And I also think that it would be nice. If they could get 2, it'd be great, but that's a lot. And spring window pass rushers are at a very high premium. The cost is not very fun, and I don't think they're trying to break the bank. But at the same time, they got to get at least one. One more is definite. If they don't, that will at some point probably bite them in the 2025 season. Corner and safety, one more guy, but they got Jeremiah Wilson. I would like to see him get one more, somebody that's flexible enough to play nickel, if possible, that just pure athletic cover guy. I know they run a different scheme, but those teams that run it like Syracuse or somebody like that runs a lot of speed on the field, be nice to have another pure corner on the field at any time. Not easy. And Jeremiah Wilson, that's a pretty good player. That's a pretty good player. He did a good job, went from Syracuse to Houston and back to Tallahassee. He's from Osceola High School in Kissimmee. Kid I used to see in high school. He's just not the biggest guy. He's 5'10", but he's got a lot of dog in him. He's very competitive. Finally, again, on the safety, just good player, contributor. They just had so many guys banged up this spring. That's more for insurance than anything. I think they got, they got Baker. They've got Conrad Hussey, all these different guys. Somebody has to step up and be a dude. But you just don't know until fall camp starts. So I understand. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft, but I'm going to finish up first with just a little bit more transfer portal news. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Gametime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket bunning. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is high. Prices in the app will actually be going down, and their last-minute ticket opportunities can save you up to 60%. So, not just NBA, not just football, not just baseball. It could be comedy, it could be theater, it could be going to a movie, it could be all kinds of things. Maybe you want to go see a rock concert, maybe you want to go see a pop concert, whatever it is, you can save up to 60% with Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime, download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Couple quick notes to finish up on the topic of the transfer portal. If you do not hit on the things that I just spoke about, depth concerns, injuries, and then the second half of the season, that's probably going to bite you. When you don't have depth, those games 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, chances are you're going to feel that. Even the freshmen got to be in the 2 deep and stuff. Are they ready? Especially when you get to games 9, 10, 11, 12, like really late in the year. Depth matters. Got to win on the portal. Second, if you miss on these portal, the other thing is if you've got somebody like when you rotate in, I think Florida State starters are pretty good on both sides. But when you rotate, if there's a weakness, the opposing team is going to find that player and go at them over and over and over again. Got to win in the portal. Somehow they've got to hit on several players, really, if you look at it. Again, by my account, let's see. I don't think they might get a running back. There's talk about that. Sawchuk is a guy that I saw might be visiting Florida State. That's been reported multiple places. There might be something going on there that I don't know about. I'm curious about the running back situation, but let's just say one there. 2 tight ends, I think, are needed. 1 is minimum, to be honest. Receiver, definitely 2. O-line, I think, is 2. Be nice to get at least 1 defensive tackle. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. DN, definitely 1. Corner, definitely 1 more beyond Wilson, if they can. They're in a spot now where you're getting close to 10 more guys. I don't know if they're going to do it. I'm getting very nervous, is the bottom line there. As for what's left and who's coming in, I mean, we'll see how it goes because, again, there's no specific signing date for the portal. But here's an example of something that's going on. Dylan Hipp, pretty highly recruited kid, is going to be visiting Florida State, possibly. Data is to be determined. Noles 24/7 reported that, and there's a couple other guys. There's a pretty interesting player. Like, I don't know if it's the perfect scenario, but they need a good player that's got some experience at DN. Miles Mitchell out of Monmouth, 6'4", 250. He's got some experience. Defensive grades from PFF last year, 75 for defense, run defense 77.7, tackling 72.1, and pass rush 70.7, had a few sacks. Is that a perfect scenario? No. But remember, Jared Verse played at Albany. It is really easy to grade somebody. He just played at that school. He ain't no good. The FCS and the Division II and stuff, there are guys that are gems. I no longer judge. I used to. I did. Don't be like me when I used to do that. You will get burned. All right, here to wrap up the show, just a couple of notes on the NFL draft. Ezra Thomas goes 3rd round, number 73 to the New York Jets. I mean, he's playing over there with Sauce. That's an interesting circumstance. The ball's going to come his way if he's in the lineup. Nobody's throwing at Sauce. We're going to find out real quick if Ezra is ready. I think he is. I think he went too low to be in the 3rd round, but that's where he went. Joshua Farmer, 4th round, 137. He was pretty ticked about going that low in the draft. But I said it. He's a guy that is not consistent. He's a guy that is not always giving 100% effort. But when he wants to go, he's dominant. He can go prove it because if he does well his first year or so, he'll get a second contract that's $50, $60 million. But if he's that guy that goes out and doesn't give 100% effort, and I'm talking about practice too, he won't last long. It's really hard to say what's going to happen with Joshua Farmer, but he's got all talent to work. He's over 300 pounds and can move. That never goes out of style. Finally, Kevin Noles, he is going to the Kansas City Chiefs as a unrestricted free agent or undrafted free agent. And then DJ Uiagalelei is going to the Chargers, same deal. One last point. It is important, especially because Thomas and Farmer were a corner and a D tackle. That is very important for any program that would be in this spot. But for Florida State, D-line, they've done a pretty good job of recruiting it, even though Florida State has been up and down. They honestly have. Now they got a chance to take it to another level. You can say, we even got Josh Farmer there. We got Daryl Jackson that's going to go there. We helped improve them. What Pot Roast does with Daryl this year, Big Daryl Jackson Jr., should help too, but that's going to be important for recruiting and the portal. You can get developed here by our guys, get to the NFL. And then, again, the portal, they're going to see what these players that Florida State's brought in for the next window in December. It's going to be another big group for Florida State. They got a lot of seniors, their line, etc. It's important. So seeing these guys go in the draft keeps Florida State relevant. That is important. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your Noles information, recruiting, transfer portal, and more. We do a little bit of everything here on the Florida State football roster, and I try to make it as fresh as I can. Still a lot of news, and we're going to have visit information pretty much every day. I can see that because they still got a bunch of needs. I mean, better part of 10 guys, in my opinion, they need. Now, Florida State isn't going to end up with that, is my guess, because they're not going to want to spend it. But that's my projection as well. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm going to cover it every step of the way, giving you all the information I can. Please like this podcast. Please share it with your friends. Please subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it if you do that on Apple and anywhere else you listen to your pods. When you're going to the gym or if you're taking a car ride, pull us down and download and listen. We are anywhere you want to be, whenever you want to do it. We are going to be back again tomorrow here on Locked On Seminoles.